to the representative of Somalia.
At the outset, my delegation warmly congratulates you, Madam President, and your country, Ghana, on your assumption of the presidency of the Security Council for this month. I would also like to commend your predecessor, the permanent representative of Gabon, for his effective management of the Council's work during the month of October. My delegation takes note of the just adopted resolution renewing the sanction regime on Somalia. We express our deep dissatisfaction with the conduct of the negotiations of the adopted resolution. I would like to thank Gabon and Ghana for not voting for the renewal of this sanction on Somalia. We are proud of your African position and aligning your vote with the African Union position. Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, 3 decades ago, the arms embargo was initiated by the Council to end Somalia's civil war in the 1990s during the collapse of the regime. Today, Somalia has a democratically elected government who has vowed to protect its people and safeguard its territory. In that context, the Somali government goes on record again in seeking to lift the arms embargo imposed on its government since 1992. The arms embargo on Somalia, the longest United Nations sanctioned regime with the widest mandate, is hindering our effort in rebuilding our national security forces and our capability to properly counter the threat of Al-Khawarij, formerly known as Shabab. In that regard, I would like to underscore the following points. First, as a sovereign state, Federal Government of Somalia has the inherent right to strengthen its security and protect its population from the violent extremist groups. We have fully implemented the weapons and ammunition strategy in the comprehensive manner. The WAM national strategy was successful in guiding the governance of arms and ammunition, including the establishment of the relevant national frameworks. Second, after President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's declared war against Al-Khawarij, our national army and the local population have inflicted heavy losses and recovered many villages and towns from the group and its followers. Nonetheless, challenges remain in consolidating operational gains, especially in the liberated areas. In addition, as you are all aware, the federal government of Somalia has requested an extension on the December 30th deadline to overtake some of the forward operating bases from ATMIS. In the last 4 months, Somali National Army forces have engaged in ongoing offensive operations against Al-Khawarij, and they have utilized a major portion of their armaments. With this renewed sanctions on Somalia, the situation of armaments is becoming unsustainable. This challenge and other new developments have forced the government to request an extension on initiating the first phase of the Somali transition plan. Therefore, the agreed Somali transitional plan won't succeed if the necessary international support is not restructured properly and made available with the suitable alignments to the realities on the ground, including investment in quick impact projects, as well as reestablishing local governance on the recovered areas. The present state of army capability imbalance between our national forces and the terrorist groups is a direct cause of the Council's arms embargo. Our hands are tied in the fight against the ruthless enemy at this most critical time. The African Union Peace and Security Communique of July of 2022 has called for an urgent lifting of the arms embargo on Somalia. In this connection, as a matter of paramount importance, the Council should seriously consider the request of the African Union so the Somali National Army are sufficiently equipped in terms of lethal capability as captured in the CONOPS to the defeat al-Khawarij and pave the way for a successful exit of ATMIS by 2024. Third, not only the arms embargo on Somalia is persistently violated as reported, but also Council's charcoal ban also violated our regular basis as evidenced in MV Fox vessel case, where the ship and its crew were released despite irrefutable and overwhelming evidence provided by the federal government of Somalia. We commend the Omani government for seizing the above-mentioned vessel in Salalah port in Oman, despite the challenges in transparency of the prosecution process of the criminal networks involved in the illegal trade. We will continue our active engagement with the Omani authorities and counting on their cooperation in following the guidelines of the relevant Security Council resolutions in returning the confiscated charcoal to its rightful owner, Federal Government of Somalia. Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Somali people who are fighting in many regions in Somalia are asking this esteemed Council, why has the Council voted in favor of this resolution again, despite intensifying fight against the terrorist group? The victims of the terrorist groups also are asking each Council member in this chamber why lifting the arms embargo on Somalia is a threat to international peace and security, while we see and witness daily the arming of other countries to defend their territory and people. This unjust and unfair double standard is preventing the government of Somalia to legally obtain military lethal equipment to rebuild its national army for decades and without having to rely on external forces for the security of our country indefinitely. Nonetheless, Somali people have risen against the tyranny of the terrorist group, and we will not await Council's condolences and sympathies for another terrorist attack of hundreds of casualties anymore. Somalia will continue to resist with arms and with their bare hands in all regions of Somalia against a violent extremism ideology until a decisive victory is achieved, inshallah. In conclusion, it's clear that arms embargo on Somalia will not help build a well-equipped Somali national security forces capable of protecting its people and territory. As a result, it's also obvious that the Somali transition plan and ATMI's successful exit from Somalia will not take place within the agreed timeline. What is certain in our view is that there is a small closing windows of opportunity for Somalia, its neighbors and its international friends to fully align with the federal government of Somalia's priority to defeat the transnational terrorist group once and for all, as declared by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and endorsed by the African Union. There is no doubt that the transnational terrorist groups will continue to gain power through the violence unless we work together bilaterally and multilaterally to provide stronger support and cooperation to counter terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. We again thank those who have voted in favor of the resolution and urged those who voted. We again thank those who have not voted in favor of this resolution and urge those who voted for this resolution to reconsider their position. I will leave you with this quote. Quote, "It's not enough that we do our best. Sometimes we must do what is required." Unquote. And I thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of Somalia for their statement.